All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're going to break down the true total cost of industrial human-machine interfaces, or HMIs as we usually call them, and exactly how the WAGO Visual Panel 200 series answers the call. Look, if you're out there designing, building, or maintaining systems on the Plan 4, you already know that picking an HMI is rarely as straightforward as just grabbing a screen off a shelf, right? There are a lot of hidden traps in the selection process. So today, we are going to map those out and solve this equation together.
Here's our game plan for today. First, we'll look at the HMI equation itself. Then we'll get into sizing and lighting, surviving the environment, connectivity and gateways, the zero-cost advantage, and finally, we'll wrap up with the full WAGO lineup.
Okay, Section 1, the HMI selection equation. These are the 4 essential criteria for the plant floor.
Now, you might be wondering, how do you actually go about choosing an HMI? Well, selecting an industrial HMI isn't just about picking out the prettiest, most high-tech screen, it's a really careful calculation. The absolutely crucial point here is starting with the right practical questions before you ever even glance at a spec sheet. Seriously, if you start with the spec sheet, you're already working backwards. You have to start with the reality of your specific application.
And that gives us a super clear 4-step roadmap to follow. Number 1, how big of a screen does the operator actually need to read the information at a quick glance? Number 2, how bright does that display have to be for the specific lighting in that space? Number 3, how harsh is the environment going to be? And number 4, and honestly this is the one that always sneaks up on people, what is it going to cost to program and maintain this thing over the entire life of the machine?
Moving right along to Section 2, sizing and lighting the screen. It's all about matching physical dimensions to what your operator actually needs. So WAGO scales their offerings to fit your exact constraints. If you're working with a compact machine and you've got a really tight panel cutout, their 4.3-inch model is your go-to. It runs on a solid IMX6 Solo processor. But if you're building richer, more information-dense dashboards, you're definitely going to want to step up to the widescreen 10.1-inch option. Both that larger 10-inch screen and their mid-size 7-inch workhorse are driven by some seriously capable quad-core IMX8M Plus processors.
Next up is lighting, which we measure in nits. You absolutely must match this to your plant floor lighting. 500 to 600 nits works perfectly fine indoors, but if you put that same screen in direct sunlight, it's totally invisible. Poof, gone. For bright, glare-heavy areas, you need to bump it up to 1000 nits. And if you're dealing with direct sunlight or full-on outdoor installations, washing out is a huge risk. That scenario requires the massive 1200 nits offered by WAGO's daylight-readable model. Trust me, it's the deciding spec when a standard panel simply wouldn't survive the glare.
All right, Section 3, surviving the industrial environment. We're talking ratings, extreme temperatures, and physical footprints.
Think about this for a second. When there are literally no moving parts to fail, how do you actually measure durability? Well, the magic number is 50,000. Every single WAGO Visual Panel 200 is completely fanless and battery-free. That means there's no backup battery to replace on some strict, annoying maintenance schedule. The backlights themselves are rated well beyond 50,000 hours. If you crunch the numbers on that, it translates to more than 5.5 years of continuous 24/7 maintenance-free operation. Operating temperature is your next massive environmental hurdle. While the standard models operate really comfortably from -20 all the way up to plus 70 degrees Celsius, the daylight-readable model can drop down to a freezing -30 degrees Celsius. That is absolutely perfect for cold storage, unconditioned spaces, or just brutal outdoor environments.
I want you to really think about this scenario. Imagine it's Friday afternoon. The cutout is flawless, everything is wired up beautifully, but when you go to finish up, the back of the HMI hits the internal components and the cabinet door just won't shut. It's a total nightmare. And get this, a door that won't close can actually cost you your UL listing for the entire panel. That leads to incredibly expensive rework and, frankly, ruined weekends.
Fortunately, WAGO solves this headache right out of the box. These panels have an incredibly shallow depth. We're talking roughly 50 to 52 millimeters. That saves a tremendous amount of internal cabinet space. But hey, as a golden rule of thumb, you should always confirm your back panel clearance early before you commit to cutting any steel.
Let's pivot over to Section 4, connectivity and gateway power. This is where we look at the HMI as the communication hub.
Because, let's face it, not every HMI plays nice with every PLC, but the Visual Panel 200 completely sidesteps those communication hurdles by talking natively to most controller platforms. Whether you're using OPC UA, Modbus, Ethernet IP, or MQTT, it's got you covered.
Thanks to these natively supported protocols and a really broad library of PLC drivers, these WAGO panels actually act as an inter-protocol gateway. They can literally sit between two devices that couldn't otherwise communicate and translate the data for them. It's a real game changer.
So why is having that gateway role so critical? Well, in standard architectures, your PLC gets totally bogged down handling heavy data logs and trend analysis. That eats up valuable processing power that was meant for actual machine control. But by offloading that log creation and data processing to the HMI's quad-core processor, you free up your PLC to focus exclusively on time-sensitive control logic. It creates a much cleaner architecture and makes your entire system faster and significantly more reliable.
Okay, now for the big one, Section 5, the zero-cost software advantage. Let's break down those sneaky, hidden licensing fees.
$0. You heard that right. In the automation world, software licensing often ends up exceeding the cost of the hardware itself. You normally get hit with fees per development seat, per runtime installation, or per project. And if you're managing a fleet of machines, that line item balloons out of control. But WAGO's Visual Designer engineering software is available at exactly $0 cost. There are absolutely no development seat or runtime licenses to budget for.
And get this, you aren't sacrificing an ounce of capability for that $0 price tag. This no-cost toolchain is fully loaded. We're talking drag-and-drop visualization, built-in alarms, trending, data logging, and recipe management. It even includes an online and offline project simulator, a VNC server and viewer, plus a built-in web server, the whole shebang. This makes the series incredibly attractive for OEMs deploying fleets of machines or integrators who just want to standardize on a powerful toolchain without getting nickel and dimed on software licenses.
Finally, Section 6, meet the WAGO lineup. Let's look at the specific models and their specs. To summarize how this all comes together, all of these models feature an IP20 rear rating and NEMA 4X and 12 fronts, making them excellent for washdown in really harsh environments. The line scales perfectly depending on your exact needs. You've got the compact VP204 with an IP65 front, then that scales all the way up to the daylight-readable aluminum-housed VP210WT, which pushes that massive 1200 nits we talked about. And sitting right in the sweet spot is the VP207. That one offers a super bright 1000 nits with a rugged IP68 rating, which is absolutely perfect for general machine applications.
So what does this all mean for you? Which model actually fits your specific visualization application? Are you going to let hidden software licensing fees secretly inflate the cost of your next build? Or will you choose the zero-cost advantage? To stop underestimating your total cost math and to find the exact WAGO model for your next project, you should absolutely reach out to the authorized distributor, Automation Distribution, at 1-888-600-3080. But before you do, ask yourself this. In an era where hardware is getting smarter, sleeker, and more robust than ever, why are you still letting hidden software fees dictate the architecture of your plant floor? It might just be time to recalculate your equation.